body of the paper. Page 35, I think we are. See you all on the other side of the election, or some of us may not, but you never know. Right, recommendations from the Regional Transport Committee. Any discussion there? I just have a very basic question. The minutes from all these meetings, are they dealt with in the next term when you consider that the new council may decide to have... Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. I've missed that bit.
Chairman, I'd just make a comment in relation to the requirement for variations to the land transport plan to provide for additional works that had not previously been included in the plan. The intention was to try and get those dealt with before the end of this council term, but at the end of the day there just was not enough time to properly notify, and so that is going to slide forward for the next council to deal with some urgency.
Any other?
I'm prepared to move it.
You're happy to remove it as it is there, Councillor? Thank you.
I had a question.
You had a question, sure.
A question is just one. I was curious here. I read these things, but I just see that the author of this report was Leanne Hooper, and I want to know, did Leanne actually write? Because normally these reports are written by Anne. But that's right, approved by Anne. It says. But I'm curious, as this says authored by, which means to me that Leanne wrote the report and then Anne approved it, which I thought was odd. So
Well, you're correct, Councillor. She did, and that is because these are actually the formal recommendations from the meeting. They're not, if you like, briefing papers as such. They're a record of the recommendations that were made by the committee and that have been made to council. So, as the governance manager, Mrs. Hooper prepares all of these, checks that they are consistent with what was minuted, because it's not always her doing the committee secretary work. And so she actually does author the paper in this case. And then both the person responsible for that committee, which is in this case is Mrs. Redgrave, and then myself, approve them.
thank you for that. With that explanation, I will second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. And to the contrary, no. Carried. Page 37, Hearings Committee. You happy to move, Councillor Scott? No questions. You happy to second, Councillor Pipe? Discussion. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. And to the contrary, no. Carried. Recommendations, Finance, Audit and Risk Subcommittee. Councillor Hewitt?
I'm happy to move.
You happy to move that?
If I can just say, before we take any questions, I'm sure there will be some with regard to the report, that it's been a pleasure working with our independent member, Mr. Benham, and he's certainly added great value to the committee. So just thanks to all of my committee members who've been part of this process. I think it's been worthwhile.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I've just got a process question. So the Finance, Audit and Risk Subcommittee makes recommendations direct through to council. It doesn't have to go through the Finance, Audit and Risk Standing Committee, whatever it's called. Corporate and Strategic.
Normally it would, but because of the timing of this meeting and the local body election,
That's
it
right.
has to be wrapped up or tidied up
Okay,
by
that's
council.
Further questions? It's been moved and seconded. Yeah, sure. I've got that. You've got that. If there are no further questions, speakers wish to speak.
I just want to ask, can we take these items individually? Because I want to vote against item 2 and record my vote being against it.
Okay, happy to take item 2 separately. If that's acceptable, Councillor Varga. I don't see any issue with that. Wish to speak? You wish to speak?
Okay. we had a presentation from Deloitte, and there are a couple of reviews that we will be that we're recommending are undertaken by the staff in the new term, and Councillor Barker had some concerns around the ownership of those papers, but just to reassure you, I got the nod that it was quietly sorted out after the motion was put, Councillor Barker, so your concerns were satisfied.
Councillor, if you wish to speak, now's the time to speak, because I'll be taking. I'm not going to talk to each individual thing. So yeah,
Would do is that in the program put by Deloitte, PwC, yes, right. I got PwC. In the original proposal they put forward, they made it very clear that we could do nothing with those reports unless we had their approval, effectively asserting copyright, which I disagreed with. I happen to know a little bit about the copyright law, not a lot. I wouldn't put myself up as an expert, but I do know something of it. And the fundamentals of copyright law is the person who commissions the work owns it. That's the principle it operates on. Now, we were commissioning the work, and then we'll be beholden to PricewaterhouseCoopers, whatever we could do with it. And the original proposal, they decided to withdraw it. Then when they came back with the confirmed proposal, it was back in there again, and I objected to this on two grounds. Firstly, we'd had a discussion before which had been resolved. Then it came back in, and I said, as far as I was concerned, I was not going to allow this council to lose its copyright to anything. Never. We paid for it, we owned it. And I wasn't going to be told by PwC how that we were going to use this information. We commissioned it, we owned it. And therefore I voted against the recommendation on that basis. I had it recorded, and I'm going to vote against it here today because I have not got the reassurance confirmed. I've been advised it's been resolved. You have to accept the advisement. I want to be assured that we are absolutely in control of the work that we commission. I'm not going to be told by some accounting firm what we can and can't say about information which we effectively own. End of story.
and as stated, I will take that separately.
Are we able to confirm that Councillor Barker's concerns are alleviated?
Well, we've only had a verbal confirmation from the chair, but other than that, no. Further speakers. Further speakers.
Paul could confirm that.
Well, but I suspect written confirmation is what Councillor Barker's after, and fair enough. And we can, it is possible to have these items voted on separately, so that's fine. Other speakers? You wish to sum up? So I'll put this decision, reason for report, I'll put that up first. Number 1, all in favour please say aye. Contrary no. Carried. Item 2, internal audit program. All those in favour please say aye. Contrary no.
No. I wish my name.
Okay, so all in favour. All good. And again, please. Carried. Thank you. Now, unless there's any huge objection, I'll take 3, 4, 5 and 6 on block. All those in favour please say aye. And the contrary no, and that too is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, item 13, recommendations to Regional Planning Committee, and Mr. Palmer, or do you wish to add anything to that, Mr. Maxwell? Pretty straightforward questions from anyone? Someone happy to move? Yeah, Councillor Scott, thank you. Seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Pipe. Wish to speak? Mr. Moore wishes to speak.
Yeah, I did regarding item 4.8 express my concern to James Palmer that I thought that presentation was far too long, and he informed me that they had got permission from the chairs. But, you know, and I think that's a little bit of a back way of going around it. I think any presentation, not only from the Māori group, they need to realise that it's a big agenda, and to take hour and 3/4 or so is far too long, taken out of the day. I had to go for an interview at 1 o'clock myself, which I told the chair, and presuming on the presumption that it started at 11:30, which I gave the porphyry for, and then I got some emails of abuse that I'd walked out on the presentation. Didn't go down all that well with me as well. Thank you. And I
Okay.
think they did notice that you were missing.
Other speakers? I'll put that motion, then all those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Carried. Right. What's our time? I think we hopefully will, oh, absolutely, we'll get through this. So the adoption of the audited annual report, and I see Mr. Collins is here. Perhaps